Hi there. This is Brooke, and we're going to talk for the next half hour or so about applying for licensure now that internship is over or getting close to being over. Beth Watson is here. She's our graduate advisor for our program. She does a lot of work for us, and especially a lot of work behind the scenes for us. So I'm just was glad she was able to be here, answer some questions, and visit with some of you all. Looks like Jessica Jackson is here, and Christy Cook is finishing up internship. Looks like Dr. Chapman is here. Welcome, welcome. And Monica Johnson, welcome. Did I miss anybody? Who's that? That's Chris. I almost thought that was Dr. Barbary down there. Look, Dr. Barbary and soon to be Dr. Cook resemble each other. All right. Well, we're just gonna kind of work through this and shouldn't take us very long. Glad you're here. If you have any questions, you want to throw them in the chat box, feel free. If you want to speak out, feel free. So whatever works best for you. We are, so one of the things that's occurred over the past year, well, this actually occurred 2 years ago, but the Texas State Board of Examiners of Psychologists consolidated with three other boards, the Professional Counseling Board, the Marriage and Family Therapy Board, and the Social Worker Board. And they consolidated under a new agency in Austin called the Behavioral Health Executive Council. So over the past year, a lot of the rules and processes have been updated. New logos have been put on new forms, and lots of things have occurred, which has affected us some, but it really doesn't affect us in a negative way or in a detrimental way. So I've got some new links here for you. I'll send all this out later on, either this weekend or early next week, so that you have this PowerPoint, you have this video. But I would encourage you to go ahead and print out, or not print out, but read the newest version of the statutes and rules. So they're linked there for you. Also, the new application is there for you. There are a few changes in the application from what it was last year, but they're not very significant changes. So we recommend go ahead and print off that application, start completing it, start filling it out. Maybe you would like to get together as a group. I see Monica and Christy here. So y'all are going to be applying at the same time. So you want to maybe complete that as a group. You've probably all completed the praxis test. If you haven't, then you need to go ahead and get registered for that and take it this semester, because you need to have passed it before you apply. Now, you still have a year to practice under supervision as a trainee after your internship ends. So there is a timeline, but you guys there's still a grace period of 1 year. Now you're not licensed during that year, but you still have to practice under supervision. But the board gives you a year to continue practicing under supervision as what is referred to as trainee. So if by chance you haven't passed the praxis by now, you've got a little over a year to do so. One of the biggest changes between last year and this year is the jurisprudence exam. Prior to this year, you had to wait to take the jurisprudence exam until you had applied for the license. That has changed, and they now tell you that you've got to take and pass the jurisprudence exam before you apply for the license, but not greater than 6 months before you apply for the license. So if you're planning on applying for the license in mid-May, I guess we are now within 6 months. So you could go ahead and take and pass the jurisprudence examination now. It is administered online now, and it is an open book exam. So what I advise is open up tabs on your Google Chrome or your Mac Safari browsers, open up to the administrative code, open up to the family law code, and just have it so that you can just do, Control or Command F and find things that you're looking for. It's an open book exam. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Dr. Chapman, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that covers it. Just definitely be careful about, when we tell everyone be careful about timelines. You guys are already at that point though, where you won't have an issue, but I know like Joel had taken it, and we didn't realize that it had to be taken within a certain time frame. Was it 6 months, I think, before you complete everything? And so Joel did take it again and Joel passed. So yay, Joel. I think Jenny Convest has done that as well. And a few, maybe a couple other people at this point. But I think that's about it.
Okay. Your transcript will be very helpful for you to have as you are completing the application. So have it, have it out with you. And then the other thing that you're going to need at some point when you complete the application is the signature from either your direct site supervisor, or if your site has a director of clinical training. That likely doesn't apply to any of you. So for most of you, it'll just be your direct site supervisor. And what they're going to ask for on that is they're going to basically say, is this person competent and qualified to render school psychological services? How many hours of supervision have you provided this person? And how many hours of intern hours have they completed? So that's what they're essentially going to need to verify. That's changed a lot in the past couple of years. It used to be that we had to have, I think, 2 or 3 letters of recommendation from other LSSPs. And so that has changed, and they don't even need anything from the training program anymore. They don't need anything from Dr. Chapman or from me or any of your professors. So that's,
hey, Brooke?
Yeah.
The form with the signature, is that found within the application documents?
It is. It's called documentation of supervised experience. There is a portion on that form that you all do not have to complete because you're not concurrently applying for the LP license. And so when you get to that point, it'll say, are you completing this in order to also obtain the LP? And you'll just skip the remainder of that. I'm sure you want to know why this is not all an online application, and that's because the board has not moved to an online application yet, and they are doing the counseling board. Is it the counseling board first, and then the marriage and family therapy board, and then the social work board, and the psychologist board will be the last board to transfer to an online application.
Brooke, I have a question, Jessica. On the jurisprudence, since I'm not planning on going into internship till after dissertation, at least that's the plan right now. There's no time limit on that either, right? Like as far as gap between time I take praxis and time I take jurisprudence or some weird thing like that. I haven't read anything, but.
Yeah, the only timeline about jurisprudence is it cannot be taken greater than 6 months prior to your application date.
Okay, but if I have like a year's gap in there or year and a half or something, that there's no crazy rule in there. Okay.
No.
Just want to make sure. Thanks.
So the reason that we suggest that you get your transcript out is because what you'll see on the application is that since we're not a NASP approved program at this point, you have to complete a little bit of additional items on that application. And so what you've really got to do is you've got to tell them which courses you've taken that apply to the certain requirements on the application. So for instance, there's an item on there that says classroom management. Well, probably you took 5391, and so that would fall under classroom management. And so you would write out EPSY 5391, assessment and intervention in the schools. We have, to my knowledge, we have only had one time that somebody at the board had wanted a little bit more information about a course that one of our applicants put on there. And it was handled very swiftly. So usually, and if you have any questions, you're like, okay, I don't know what to put here for history and systems or something like that. Just, ask, talk to your peers what they're putting on there. Now, I know some of you've got transfer credit from other universities or completed degrees from other universities. And so everybody's may be a little bit different, but we can help you and work through that with you. The timeline here is, Jessica was asking about timeline. Here's the thing that I think, once internship is over, you're no longer an intern, you're a trainee. And you're considered a trainee when you've applied for the license. And so what we recommend is putting the application in the mailbox the day after the internship ends or the day of graduation. That's when you're going to identify yourself as a trainee until you receive the license. The other thing that you'll do is later in the semester, you'll request your transcript to be officially sent from the university to the state board. But there's a box when you request that transfer, and it'll say, do you want this sent now, or do you want to wait until this semester's grades have posted on the transcript? And so you want to wait until it shows that you've completed and passed internship. So wait until the end of that semester. Once you apply for the license, they will review your application. They'll make sure that you've passed jurisprudence, that you've passed the praxis, that you have all the coursework taken care of. They've reviewed your transcript, and then they're going to issue you a licensing number. Usually you can find that licensing number on this website here. It's a public licensee search. You'll be able to find that there before they even send you a letter or an email. And it's so exciting when you finally see that license. That is the licensing process. I do want to remind you that once you become licensed, you will start needing to renew your license, and you'll also have to complete continuing education units. This has somewhat changed over the past year as well. We now renew our licenses every 2 years. And every year it requires that you have at least 3 hours of continuing education related to ethics and 3 hours of continuing education related to multicultural and diverse populations. So I believe that's a total of 40 hours now that's required across 2 years. You should not have to show that you've had any continuing education for your first year. Your second year will be the year, your second year of licensing will probably be the year that they start requesting you to renew your license and show that you had continuing education credits. Christy looks confused.
That's just my normal look.
Okay, so that's the bulk of it.
Question on CEUs. Do you have any recommendations if you're trying to get CEUs for 2 separate licenses? Like, have you seen any that like double dip or something?
Dr. Chapman?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to do that for like my BCBA and for my LSSP. And there are some things that overlap, but it really depends. Like, since CEUs sometimes can be so specific, like the provider has to actually say, like for LSSPs or for BCBAs. And so I don't know about like for LPCs, how hard it is to get your CEUs, but a lot of times, I mean, I'm hoping there's more crossover between LSSP and LPC, but there probably will be a lot that you'll have to get kind of separate, just because unfortunately that's what I've kind of run into is like here in our area, hardly anyone, they never offer BCBA CEUs. And so I have to go to I just do the conference every year. And that really gets me like most of my CEUs. But yeah, probably like conferences will be your best bet, just so that you can get everything knocked out. And it can be time consuming and kind of costly, but it's not too bad. But hopefully more of yours will cross over than mine does. But
Monica, I feel, and I've got a social work license as well. I find that the social work board requirements are stricter and more restrictive than the psychology board requirements. And so generally anything I do for social work counts for psychology, but not everything I do for school psychology counts for social work. And so for instance, like a lot of my CE I get at the service center. Well, that will count for the psychology board, but it might not necessarily count for the social work board.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Well, that was easy then. Well, I will stay on as long as somebody's here. So y'all free. We can talk about what we're going to do this weekend, or we can talk about Mardi Gras. Or we can just stare and look at each other.
I think I'm good. Thanks so much for the help.
Bye, Christy. Have a good day.
Bye.
I think
I'm scared to death of my praxis. I don't know why.
you'll be fine. It's really not as bad as I remember working up, just going like, oh my gosh, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. Like, you're going to be great.
Like my other license exams, I was like, oh, no biggie, I'll go do this. But the praxis just makes me really nervous.
Yeah.
Jessica just finished. You want to give some pointers?
Yeah, Monica and I have talked on the phone.
Okay.
She'll be fine. She's fine.
We have faith in you, Monica.
Thank you. I'm really jealous of my students right now. I went to pull 3 different kids today to try to test them, and one of them is in Las Vegas. The other one is in Greece. And the other one is somewhere outside the state. And I was like, well, at least I get extra days for my timeline because they've been gone for a while, but I could really use a vacation like them.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm jealous of them too. Well, if you need anything, you just let us know, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. Have you already scheduled it?
Yes. March 7th.
All right.
So, and then the day after that, I will sign up for my jurisprudence since that's my spring break.
You got it. You got this.
I do have a general question. Which region are you guys in for your service center?
Lubbock is in 17.
Okay.
Are
I
you
really-
in, are you in internship right now, Monica? I can't remember. You are,
Yes.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Your service center has lots of really good specific, like related services and things towards LSSPs. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to branch out of Region 12.
Yesterday we had Dr. Scott Poland did like an all-day training, and it was really, really good. They're going to bring him again for the summer. They're going to have like a summer, some kind of summer, can't remember what she called it, a summer thing. Not like the big SPED conference, but just like another little, a smaller thing. But he'll be doing like a training as well. But that one's a good one to watch for if you've never heard him, because we just had kind of an increase in suicides in our area. And so I had just asked, like, hey, can we do something on this? Because LSSPs have been doing a lot of the crisis response. And so, yeah, like within a couple of days, she was like, sure, let me get on it. And she was like, Scott Poland is willing to do it. And I was like, awesome. I mean, it was a great training. So I highly recommend that one when it comes back around.
I heard him probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
He was awesome. So I'll put in a request over here and see if we can organize that.
Yeah. It's a lot easier now with, I mean, that's one thing about virtual is, which sometimes it's hard, to sit there forever, but it's nice because it's easier to get speakers and things like that. And I think our service center